Today we are going to deal with Jean Rhys. She was born in Rousseau to a Welsh father and a Creole mother. Her real name is Ella Gwendolyn Rhys Williams. Later, she was known as Ella, Vivian, Emma Grain, or so many names, but she hated the name Gwendolyn, which means white in Welsh. She actually changed her name so many times. So Rhys is actually a different spelling for her father's name Rhys, and she adopted this name as her writing name. She was born in British colony, but she traveled as a young woman leaving the Caribbean, moving from London to Paris and Europe. She was culturally complex. She had Caribbean upbringing and accepted her Celtic ancestry. She also had complicated race, religion, education, and class. She had partial education in Catholic school and in Anglican church. In the colonial Caribbean, she belonged to the elite group, but in England, she was a working class. So, in her fiction, she explored these tension and contradictions. Her complex identity and experience resisted her writing only one side of the story. She is both colonial and post-colonial, white but Creole. She was also a cosmopolitan, and her work often protests borders and separations. She is the author of 5 novels, 3 story collections, and the posthumous Smile Please, an unfinished autobiography. In this short story, there is a cultural tension arises between Western and Caribbean values, identity, and otherness that was personally relevant to her early life growing up as a colonial, a half white, half colored person. So here the title says the recollection of a past event. So here the day in the title marks the significance of the book burning event that makes a difference in the narrator's life. Regarding setting, there is no specific setting. The event takes place in West Indies, which is under European colony. I will introduce the important characters. First is Eddie. So he is narrator's friend. He has white father and black mother, and he reveals the in-between position due to having this English father and colored mother. Mr. Sawyer is Eddie's father, and he's an agent for a small steamship line running between the island and South America. He's an educated British man who lives in Caribbean island. He is an alcoholic and racist, and he used to abuse his wife verbally and physically. And next is Mrs. Sawyer. She is Eddie's mother. She is a decent, respectable, nicely educated, colored woman who is exposed to her husband's racist humiliations. The day they burned the book. So here the story is told from the first person point of view. The speaker is a young girl. The age of the speaker was not mentioned properly, but it is a young girl. This story is centered on the conflict of cultural identity. Here, the narrator and her friend Eddie, they both are the children of English descendant growing up in Caribbean. The narrator is full white English girl, while her friend Eddie, whose father is English and mother is a black woman. Eddie's father is obsessed with his English heritage and expects Eddie to be the same, but both the children are unsure of their true cultural identity. If we have a look at the character of Eddie, the people around him talks about the things like strawberries and daffodils, which are completely English. They have never seen such things. When they praise those things, Eddie feels so awkward and he claims that he completely dislikes them. Similarly, the narrator feels that she has some English friends, but whenever she is close to them, she feels really awkward. She says that she is completely English, but whenever she mentions she is English, the people around her call her she is not English, but she is a colonial person. So both the children, they were ridiculed by the black children, calling them as a colonial person. Eddie's father, he has a room in his home to store his books from England, but Eddie's mother dislikes this room because according to Eddie's father, this room is a remembrance of his white heritage, his English heritage. But after Eddie's father's death, Eddie claims that this room belongs to him, but Eddie's mother and their housekeeper Mildred, they try to burn a part of this room. So they try to burn some books, but Eddie and the narrator, they somehow manage to save one book each. The main theme of the work is the cultural conflict between the colonizer English and the colonized Caribbean. So this conflict is revealed through the internal conflict of Eddie's experience. He is actually facing emotional and intellectual conflict between his two identities. Sawyer also faced this cultural conflict both in the environment and his wife. He actually hates Caribbean, but he ended up living in this place. Likewise, he is married to a colored woman whom he humiliates with an English superiority and abuses verbally and physically. The narrator also experiences this inner conflict about her identity due to her being white Creole in the English colony. So her friend Eddie's identity problem allows the narrator to recognize her in-between status and her resentment of English education they had received. Then let us have a look at the symbols which play a very important role in this work. First one is daffodils and strawberries. These two things symbolize the cultural hegemony, English cultural hegemony in Caribbean. In this sense, the colonial children, including the narrator, learn to recite poems in praise of daffodils. But the thing is, they talk about the things such as daffodils and strawberries in England, which they have never seen in their life. Then the books in the library of Mr. Sawyer become an emblem of British nationality and Western culture within their Caribbean house. For Mrs. Sawyer, books are symbols or reminder of their Western oppressors, but to Mr. Sawyer, books are symbol of the homeland and the Western world. This distinction carries the significance throughout the story. The turning point of the story is Mr. Sawyer's death. After his death, Eddie took over his father's library. In other words, he accepts his English ties and breaks away from his Caribbean side. At the end of the story, both the Eddie and the narrator, they achieve to save two books from the library. The book Eddie grabs is Rudyard Kipling's Kim, but the book got torn. It starts from page 20, whereas the book the narrator has saved is French Fort comme la Mort. These two books represent the two imperial cultures to which the children are inheritors. Their survival indicates the survival of a literary tradition, though within the compromised circumstances of colonial inheritance. So that's all.